You're at your old trusty boat. You call mighty sparrow. I'm in the city of Mardi Gras.
Welcome to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, where we hear stories from everyday people who do extraordinary things. I'm your host, Jerome Rand. Hey everybody, today's podcast is with Adrienne Edson, and this is just one of those, it was just an absolute honor to have her on the show. We did it outside at Jeromestown, so there's a bit of wind noise in the background, and then we get interrupted by some rain, have to wait a couple of days to do the next part. And then at the very end, the last 3 minutes or so, she actually sings one of her songs. And you just have to realize that I'm recording this outside in a tent using 2 microphones that are kind of the cheapest on the market, but I think when you hear it, you'll still be pretty impressed. And I know I am because the song is about me. But she's a really great person, musician. She's lived an incredible life. So here we go. We're going to get into it. All right. And we are live. Welcome to the podcast. We have a insanely special show tonight. So for those of you that listened from the very beginning and have heard any of my podcasts, you'll notice a wonderful song. And tonight we actually have Adrienne here with us, the lovely young lady who the universe has planted beside me now for the second time in my life, which I'm very happy about. And she's here with us. Hi, Adrienne. How's it going?
Hey, it is going wonderfully.
It's so good to have you on here.
I'm stoked.
I am too. Well, I figure just probably the first thing is maybe if you just give us a little brief synopsis of who you are, where you're from, that sort of small talk. We'll get that icebreaker out of the way, and then we'll go from there and dive in deep. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good. That's an interesting, a fascinating way about it to start small and dive deep, because my first thought was, I
need to talk about my philosophies on
yes,
life in general.
Yes.
No. We
my
like
true
this,
nature.
Yeah.
My deeper true nature, which is love awareness. I was going to say, hello, I'm love awareness. But we can get into that a little later.
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, of course we will. I want to know all about that. We're going to peel back the layers of that is Adrienne.
Okay,
tonight.
but yes, here in this form right now, and it's such a special moment right here and now. We've got a fire going out in the woods.
Out in Jeromestown tonight?
Yes. Yeah, it's such a beautiful atmosphere around. I grew up in Michigan, and I spend the summers in Michigan still.
Yep.
Teaching yoga.
That's what brings you up here, yes?
Yeah, living on Lake Walloon.
But if I were to ask you to name off all the places you've ever lived, could you do it really quick?
Yeah, mainly Bloomfield Hills, St. Louis, and New Orleans.
Oh, those are the major 3.
Mm-hmm.
No wonder you're so antsy to get out and to explore some of this world like we were talking about before.
Oh, yeah, well, I'd love to live across the world, but New Orleans is pretty cool.
Yeah, how long have you been down there?
8 years.
Wow. Yeah, we were talking about some of the storms that happened down there, because you've been in, what was the last one you said it was? Zoe? No.
Zeta.
Yeah. How was that experience?
Pretty bizarre. It was 2 weeks of power outages, and yeah, there was the massive whirlwinds and the eye of the storm, a green, eerie time to go on a stroll when, lo and behold, things were suddenly flying past us again.
And what would you tell
It's
our
wild.
listeners as a warning about that?
Oh yeah, stay inside longer. The eye of the storm is deceiving.
I like to always throw out those warnings because sometimes the topics of this podcast get a little dangerous and dicey. So New Orleans been through some storms, because we went through a bit of a microburst up here in Michigan, and basically a huge line squall came through got crazy. I was actually on the water and got to see a small water spout form, which destroyed a dock and took down trees and all sort of stuff. And was that the only? But you've been through more hurricanes down there than that, right?
Yeah. Even when the rains are pretty substantial and pounding down, the draining in New Orleans isn't very good, and so the streets will fill with water pretty fast, and the shotguns, the houses are only raised maybe 5 steps up sometimes, and you'll watch the water rise to that top step. It can get pretty scary because
Well, isn't the whole city
below
underneath
sea level,
sea level?
17 feet below.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
And that's all protected by dikes and deltas and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if I've got those terms right.
Levees.
Levees. Oh, okay.
And the coastline is receding pretty fast. It's pretty. It's not gonna. It's not a city that would exist without all those levees, and it won't necessarily exist for very long. So get it while it's hot.
Better get down there.
It's an extraordinary city. It's very unique, but it might not be around.
Yeah, if you've ever dreamt of going for Mardi Gras, you might want to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Well, what was it that attracted you to New Orleans?
Ooh, well, it was a whim took me there. The music attracted me. I brought my mandolin and a suitcase, and I always had this desire to busk, B-U-S-K, busk, to sing on the street for tips, and it really works in the French Quarter. People do it all the time. It's a thing there.
People do it professionally, right? Basically.
Yeah, yes, as did I for 3 years, if not a little longer. But yeah, it's.
Had you ever done it before?
I had done it a handful of times only. A little bit in Royal Oak and a little bit in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you sort of cut your teeth there, but New Orleans is a whole different ballgame.
Maybe I cut my teeth just in a coffee shop playing some folk covers, and then I went down to the street and just sang on the street. I was so happy to do it. And when you're happy doing something, people can tell. And it was just this cycle of positive energy. And then the French Quarter is so unique. It's enchanting. There's all these characters walking down the street. It's always a fun time.
Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, I'm obviously a small town kind of person. Always have grown up in tiny places, lived in tiny islands. Big cities honestly scare me quite a bit. It's just a little overwhelming, especially after so much time alone on a boat. But I've always had this weird dream. You wouldn't believe it, but I've always thought it would be so cool to go and spend like a year and live in New York, in Manhattan.
Ooh, I wouldn't want to do even that.
Really?
That to me is a big city, and New Orleans doesn't feel quite so big. I ride my bicycle all across town, so it doesn't feel too big to me.
How many people live there?
Oh, I don't know.
No idea, huh?
Yeah, I don't know the
I'm
the
gonna
facts.
guess 2 million.
I don't know.
You have no idea. Well, we'll have to Google it afterwards. Maybe some of the listeners can put it in the comments. But when you arrived down there, and you knew that was sort of the plan, was to go down there and do that, would you have to have a supplementary job?
No, you could busk full time.
Really? So how many hours a day would you be doing this?
Ooh, I would do it for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, and I loved it. Yeah, and that was about all my vocal cords could take, though, too. I did it acoustic, so I didn't have a mic amplifying me.
Oh, really? So you really had to project your voice?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and then the sound would spin down the street, between the architecture.
Yeah.
Buildings.
Oh, I can only imagine. How
Into the
do you have
architectures.
to sort of claim your own little section? How does that? Because you can't just rock up to New Orleans and be like, "Yeah, this is my corner now."
There is an etiquette, and that's probably not the lesser fun part, because I wanted everything to be good and groovy. You roll up and all the buskers are your friends, and it felt like a community. But there is a bit of competition for the spots that tend to flow a little bit more.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, there's got to be. What's the most sort of sought after spot?
Well, I would play solo, so I could fit into smaller places, smaller corners and things. But the biggest corner would probably be Rouse's outside the grocery store in the French Quarter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, tons of people gather around there. All the pedicabbers are biking through. It's a fascinating spot. It's just off the corner of St. Louis Cathedral, the huge cathedral in Jackson Square.
Wow. Gosh, yeah, I'm, really probably. Well, actually, no. You know what? That's part of what I like about doing these podcasts, because now I get to learn about New Orleans and busking and all these things. Rather, because a lot of people when they do these, I don't know, feel the need to research the person they're like research the subjects they think they're going to talk about and everything. But I don't know. I'm just learning about it, and I get to sort of just listen. I'm enjoying it. So you got down there, and these, I mean, how do you negotiate where you get to perform?
Oh, yeah. You try it out. Yeah. You go for it and you fall a few times, out of the nest, but then you just keep getting up and trying out different spots. And, I liked one spot. Different spots will resonate and feel this way or that. And my first spot that I liked was right by the steamboat Natchez, the riverboat with the paddle, the spinning paddle. And then I went to a certain corner, and I loved that corner. And then near the Blue Dog Art Gallery, that was another spot. So when you find your spots, and when you want them on a good day, like a Saturday, or when there's a festival happening and there's tons of people in town, you have to wake up early. Yeah, and hold it
get
down.
out there and claim it.
Yeah, you get out there so early that the street cleaning mobiles are still coming through, and
cleaning
no
up from
one's
the
up
previous night
at all. Yeah, and you just sit there and read a book for hours.
Well, I would think that, I don't know. So there's not some sort of hierarchy of, I've been here in New Orleans for 20 years doing this.
Definitely.
Everybody knows that corner is
Yeah,
mine.
yes.
So
yes.
that does go on.
It does. But there's also a flow. The faces do change over time, but there are some legendary people who take certain corners. Yeah.
Is there any performers you would recommend for anybody visiting that area to go check out?
Oh, such a good question.
Because you must have gotten to know quite a few other people doing the same thing,
okay,
right?
so like there's Doreen, the clarinet player. She would post up and did awesome. And it has been 5 years since I've been busking full time. So the names, Tuba Skinny.
Tuba Skinny.
Check out Tuba Skinny.
Nice.
Yeah.
Giving a shout out to Tuba Skinny. That's a great name.
Yeah, go to New Orleans, go find them. They might be on Frenchman Street too. That's another good busking one. Get a vinyl. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And so you sort of get into that zone, and then I got to tell you, I'm kind of surprised. So you were able to, that could be your full-time job.
Yeah.
And that pays. I mean, you don't have to say anything, but I mean, how much money are you able to make there?
Oh, sure. Okay. And well, also, this was 8 years ago. My rent was so cheap. And also, I was living in a shotgun that was falling apart, and we had some.
What do you mean a shotgun?
A shotgun style house. It's what all of the houses, so many houses, are designed in this shotgun setup where it's a room stacked on a room. It's just a long house. It's one long house, but you have to walk through one room to get to the next. It's a little silly of a setup because if you're living with your friends, you have to walk through each other's rooms.
Oh, okay. I'm envisioning it now. So you walk in and you're in somebody's room.
Yes, yeah. The idea is you can open the doors and shoot a shotgun, and it'll go right through the house. And the reason for it is it helps with airflow. It gets so hot and humid there. You can open all the doors, and the air will flow through.
Oh, smart. Okay, so that might have been a pre-air conditioning sort of thing.
Yeah. You'll still be brutally hot if you go there in the summer, though.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put a couple logs on this fire, so I'm going to just leave it to you. Do you want to talk about tell me what's your favorite thing about New Orleans?
Oh, costumes came to mind. That was one of the first things I fell in love with, was just the creativity that goes into throwing something super fun together and going to catch the parade or the ball of the night. And which, by the way, Mardi Gras, if you don't know, the season lasts over 3 weeks. There are parades, so many parades, maybe upwards of 40 parades that happen over the course of the few weeks. The city participates so much. The schools close down so everyone can be in the
When
parades.
does it all technically? Because that's for me. Being a Midwesterner, basically always all you just heard was Mardi Gras was like this week-long thing, and that was
Oh, that's even a lot. I grew up and it was just like you eat a donut on Fat Tuesday.
oh, and that was it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, all the parades and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So when does the whole? It sounds like it's more of like a festival season.
Yes.
When
yeah.
does it start and end?
It technically begins on 12th night, 12 days after Christmas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's when you eat a king cake. The king cake season begins. You're not supposed to eat a king cake outside of king cake season.
What's a king cake?
It's a giant pastry. There's a plastic baby hidden inside. Whoever gets the baby has to buy the king cake the next year. It's going to be Mardi Gras colors, so yellow, green, and purple. Really sugary icing with a lot of colorful sprinkles that are yellow and green and purple. Yeah.
Do you dive into that or no?
Oh no, I don't.
You're not a sugar eater.
I don't eat sugar. I don't eat gluten. I have made paleo vegan king cake, and it was good.
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's pretty cool. Wow. Okay. And so it starts then in December or in January. And then goes all the way through when?
Whenever Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday is, the day before Ash Wednesday. So it depends on the calendar. The dates will change. The date of Mardi Gras changes based on when Easter is, based on the moon.
Oh, so it's like all the way in April. So it's like 3-4 months.
No, let's see. March. Usually late February or early March.
Okay. Got you. So it's, wow, that's a lot longer. Because I feel like...
Well, there's the kickoff. There's the 12th night kickoff, but then it's kind of a lull. It's like a quiet, it's Mardi Gras season. It's a quiet and subtle thing that is happening. But then 3.5 weeks before the day it starts to build. It builds up nice and slow. Starting 2.5 weeks early, we're really going strong. And then the week and a half leading up to Mardi Gras is just insane.
Does it get to the point where you're like, I'm over this, like, holy cow.
Oh, not yet.
We're getting flooded.
No.
With people, not water.
Okay. Well, I was going to say as you experience more Mardi Gras, you get better at it and you learn which parades are more worthwhile, more fun, especially the underground ones where you're part of the parade. That's the best part, when you're part of a walking parade and there isn't tons of waste happening, because the major parades are wasting so much plastic. They're throwing not just beads, but like all the toys, and it's fun. It's definitely alluring. And it got me when I first got to the city. It was so fun to just catch a bunch of toys from the sky. It's so fun for the kids. But all of those toys lay in the wreck of that the parade leaves behind. And then huge crews of sweepers come out and just like all this massive waste gets.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think there are some traditions, that we do all over the world that are unfortunately super wasteful like that.
Yeah.
But I think I feel like people are slowly sort of waking up to that fact and sort of realizing that, it might have been a big tradition, but there's better ways to do it.
Yes, yeah. There's definitely a movement of that in small ways, where the smaller parades that you're part of are more of handmade throws that are special, and you share those with people. It's kind of like a gift giving, like if you were to go to Burning Man or something and you make a playa gift. So that's kind of the a better kind of parade.
Yeah,
That's more
yeah.
my
Oh,
style.
I would think so. I mean,
More the Earth style.
when I was a kid at the 4th of July parade, I mean, they were throwing candy and stuff like that to us, and I don't even think you can get away with that anymore. Strangers throwing candy. It's kind of
Yeah, it's hard to say. The pandemic, it didn't really happen last year. I imagine if things get back into full swing, there will be tons of candy being thrown from floats again.
yeah, yeah. I hope so. That, I mean, for me, that was when I was a kid. That was my biggest thing. I loved the fact that there was going to be free candy thrown,
Yeah.
and I could just as much as I could catch, sort of thing.
Yeah, you know
It's
what
like
the
a challenge, you know.
Oh, I know, it's so fun. You know what the best is St. Patrick's Day parade in New Orleans. They throw vegetables that you can make use for a stew.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's great. You bring a huge sack and you fill it up with all the cabbage and carrots and all the
that's
fixings,
so
tons of
cool.
onions, everything, garlic, everything.
That's
you
the
could
St.
need.
Patrick's Day parade?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and that
Must be
was
vegan central then. Like everybody comes out of the woodwork.
Yep.
We're not going shopping today.
So fun catching cabbages, but you have to beware because accidents happen.
Dude, you get hit by a cabbage in the head. Thing weighs a lot. Or watermelons. Don't tell me they throw watermelons.
No.
Okay, just vegetables.
Yeah.
But carrots, think about a carrot. You know, you get
Yeah, the cabbage.
take your
though.
eye out.
Yep.
That'd be such a shame.
Sure would.
Wow, so that's pretty crazy. Okay, so I don't know. Because I've never been there, I've never been able to experience it. I've only just heard the rumors of, beads and drunken craziness and music and all that stuff rolled into one.
Yeah.
But you've been able to experience a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And you still, because I've talked to people that live down there and they say they leave at that point. But obviously they're just, they're either way over it or they're not really able to find the joy in it, I guess.
People who live in the city, who've lived there for a while,
Yeah,
you're saying?
yeah. Lived there their whole lives.
Oh, yeah. I could imagine, and I definitely know people where they live right around where most of the parades happen, and it's just so much traffic. They can't even do their lives. There's just it's just traffic, and all of the streets are parade routes. Imagine that. You can't.
Yeah,
There's
you
just
can't
floats
actually
everywhere,
get,
and you.
it's like, how do I get there? I know here in Traverse City when they do the Cherry Festival, because like 95% of the world's cherries are grown here in Michigan.
Whoa, did not know that.
I know. Don't quote me on that number, but that's the one I've always heard. In any event, they have the Cherry Festival, but it's a week long, and Traverse City is very similar or not very similar, but it's a small town, but it has basically one main street, and literally 100,000 people go there for this, and the people that live there, it's just a nightmare because traffic is horrible, and they just can't. Their sort of day to day gets disrupted, I guess. But I always told my brother when he was down there, I said, just dive into it. Use this as an excuse to just get weird and experience it rather than just sit there and complain and be like, I don't, this is terrible. We should just go somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I can see both sides of that coin.
Sure.
So you're down there and you're doing all the busking, and how did it go?
Yeah. Oh, you did ask that. How it went. Yeah. It was great. Did I say so if I busked for 4 hours, you mean like how I would do tip wise?
Yeah, just ballpark,
okay.
Unless you want to show me the spreadsheet.
No, I didn't do spreadsheet. No.
Were you reporting those to your taxes?
I would say after 4 hours, I on a good day where like I'm feeling good and positivity's flowing.
Crowds are happy.
Yeah, and this was back in things come and flow. Okay, about $100 for 4 hours. Pretty happy with that.
That's really good.
Yeah,
to be able,
yeah,
and to be doing something that you love doing.
Oh, and then I didn't mention and then when I first got there, my rent was so cheap. It was $300 a month.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I could get that in 3 days. So I was like, oh, I could live here. I could live this life and do this. I could sing on the street, and I ride my bicycle and down Royal Street and set up the mandolin and sing, and it was a really fun chapter.
Now, were you already writing your own songs, or were you singing other people's songs?
On the street, I would do folk covers, but what transpired was my music project, the original project, developed, and as I continued to busk acoustic on the street, I also met my friends and musicians and started to create with them, and I created a band and learned how to play plugged in on stage and then in a studio to get into some recording.
Oh, okay.
Which I really enjoy the process of.
Yeah.
Which you're doing right now.
I know. It's a wonderful treat. I'm so glad you agreed to do it.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Are there any personal favorites, favorite artists that you like to cover?
Oh yeah, Bob Dylan.
Oh, yeah. I could totally see that.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, I would do some Blowin' in the Wind, Times They Are A-Changin', Like a Rollin' Stone, Subterranean Homesick Blues. It goes on and on. Oh Sister, oh yeah. One More Cup of Coffee. So I would play harmonicas too. I would have the harmonica rack and play harmonica and tambourine with my foot.
Oh,
the whole shebang. Yeah.
Well, when I think about that first summer where we met, I was so blown away when we sat out here and I listened to you play just so many different songs. I mean, you never know what level somebody's going to actually be singing and playing guitar at. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, I play guitar," and then it happens, and you're like, "Oh, geez." But I was
thank you.
blown away, and I thought, I must be the luckiest guy in the world because now I not only have you out here, but I have you able to just play all this music, and I get to just sit back and listen to it. I mean, it was unbelievable.
That's sweet. Well, it also sounded really nice on that 12-string guitar of your mom's. So.
Yeah, that old Martin is a really, really beautiful guitar. Yeah. Holy cow. I still need to get it out so we can do a little repeat performance. That's probably the one thing that's missing.
We should do that. At the end of we'll grab it and then we'll edit it in at the end of the podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll play a song on the 12-string.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
No,
we'll
what?
See.
It's got to work. What do you mean?
We'll figure it out.
Of course. What could possibly...
Well, I'll tell you, though.
If there's a will.
The only thing that was better than that experience that night was hearing that song that you wrote about Mighty Sparrow. That, full-on goosebumps, and it's just a tiny clip that we use in the intro for this.
It's about you.
I know. So, I think it brought a tear to my eye the first time I heard it, just because it was. Obviously nobody's ever written a song about me, but nobody's ever written like a good song about me. And it was just it was haunting and cool, but at the same time, and I have to admit this to you, it also makes me jealous because it's a duet, and when the guy's voice comes in, I'm like, what? Who's this guy? What's going on with that? Like, this song's about me. What? But it's not like I could sing it.
Oh, well, we should sing it together. That's what we should sing at the end of the podcast.
I think you want to hear me sing.
It has
smokes.
to happen. We can practice. We can edit that part out.
We'll have to see. We'll do that off the air. Oh,
yeah.
man. Well, so you said you'd been writing for a long time. When did that really take hold? Was it down in New Orleans, or was it before that?
It was in St. Louis. Yeah, I studied music at St. Louis University. It was my senior year. I recorded my first few songs and released my first EP. Yeah. Which was called? Raindrop Choir.
Raindrop Choir. Is that available anywhere?
It's on... it's not on Spotify and all that. It's on Bandcamp. Yeah, you'd have to go to adrienneedson.bandcamp.com.
We'll put that. I'll get you to... in the podcast details. We'll put links to whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, so people will be able to find all the stuff. But
Cool.
oh, that's pretty cool. And so that was, how old were you then? 20?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Mhm.
Wow, okay.
Mhm.
So it was from St. Louis and then there. I'm just trying to like track.
Yeah, I
this
just followed the
timeline down.
Mississippi down, essentially.
You ever dreamt about riding the Mississippi?
Ooh, that would be fun.
So fun.
You've done it?
No, I had a friend.
Oh, let's
though.
do it.
I had a friend who took, and he worked in Michigania, Everett Sislow.
I know him.
He and another guy went down the Mississippi in a
Oh.
canoe. I don't know exactly where they started, but it was pretty much at the start, and made it all the way down. I can't remember how long it took him. 2 months, maybe something like that. But said it was one of the most amazing experiences he's ever had.
Fun.
I'd like to do it on like a homemade raft.
Yes.
You know, Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn sort of
Definitely.
thing.
Yes, forage some berries
Yeah, right.
along the way.
I think it's a little more developed. It's more along the lines of trying to chat people up so you can stay on their dock for the night, sort of thing.
Oh. Okay.
And just try not to get run over by barges and big boats. I guess that gets kind of scary because there's a lot of really tight areas, and a canoer has the right of way over no one. It's just sort of like get out of the way. But I don't know. I don't know. It might be kind of interesting.
Wow. And for as much as I've looked at the Mississippi, especially in New Orleans, it bends around the city. It's called the Crescent City because of the shape of the river. I haven't been in it much because the water currents are so fast.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you can't swim in it at all. I certainly haven't sailed in it. I've sailed in the lake above the city.
And it's got to be super busy with shipping and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, and
It's constant.
shipping, barges, constant. Yeah, and cruise ships.
Paddle boats, riverboat casinos, things like that. Or do they have any of those there?
Not as many as you'd expect or in other places. There's one casino on land that's really a big, popular spot.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's on land, but it's just like right on, like next to the river. And so that was the loophole. It's like casinos couldn't be on land, but it was like.
It's on a boat. It's tied to a dock permanently, sort of thing.
But then somehow the permanent boat became land, and it's still allowed. Yeah.
Right. They figure out a way. There's enough money in that game, so.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Are you going back to New Orleans, or are
Ooh,
you headed off for new adventures?
Well, let's see. I'll go back to the city this fall. This fall is going to be exciting. We have Jazz Fest. We'll see if it happens for the first time in a couple years, as well as other festivals where I'll be teaching yoga and meditation at some festivals. So I'll dip in. I'll say hello to my friends, but I also hope to be on to new adventures.
All right, we are back after a little technical difficulty on my part. I'm not the greatest at this whole recording thing, I guess, but sorry about that, Adrienne. I think we were talking about, we kind of got off on Mexico and all this other stuff, but I want to sort of peel back a few more layers, because I know you are what I would call a multifaceted person when it comes to not so much, I don't want to label it as just employment, because you know that I was talking with somebody the other night about how annoying it is that social norm of, somebody asking, well, what do you do? And people say the term like, I am a lawyer. And it's sort of like, you are a lawyer, like you are what you do. And so I don't want to label it that way. But what other sort of, you've got your music. You're multitasking in all these different realms. You do yoga, and then you also do fitness. Just lay us out. If I were if I were to come to you and say, well, what can you teach me? What can you teach me?
Yeah, there's so many layers.
Or guide me through, I guess.
Yeah, so I after living out the busking and living out the songwriter, having a band and recording. What came next for me was a seeking of spirituality, I guess, and I found it in yoga training. And I trained at this wonderful studio in New Orleans called Wild Lotus, and they're a bhakti yoga studio. And so bhakti is yoga of expression, yoga of the heart and of art. And so I was taught to incorporate myth and stories and poetry and music into the yoga flow, the journey. And so I brought my music into the training and into now I'm a teacher. I start my classes with mantra music, kirtan music, and with chants. And I love to offer meditations and guide meditations, guiding people to experience and to know their own soul with greater depth and awareness.
Well, and didn't you spend time down at a place in Guatemala?
Yeah, totally. Yes. It was such a fun experience. I'm so grateful for this. I took after my training program in New Orleans, an 8-month-long program finished. Then I went for 1 month to an ashram, a place of yogic studying and being in Guatemala on Lake Atitlan, overlooking 3 volcanoes. And that was such a beautiful, harmonious experience where every morning we would meditate for an hour and then do 90 minutes of asana, of yoga flow. And then beyond that, it was a work study. So I was spending hours each day transcribing yogic philosophy.
Oh,
for
really?
them. Yes. So I basically got to continue my studies there. And it was so
okay.
fun. Yeah.
You think I forgot about that, huh? I'm glad I brought that one up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh! So 8 weeks, and then you go down there and do that, and you've been teaching yoga for how long now?
2 years? Yeah,
Oh,
just
wow,
about
okay.
2 years. Yeah. I was catapulted into yoga teaching because then next I came up here to Northern Michigan to teach yoga at a camp. And I hadn't taught any classes when I started, but by the end I had taught over 130 because at camp we're just doing yoga classes all the time. And that's how you get good at something. You just try and try and try.
Over and over, yep.
Yeah.
Wow. 130. How many of those in a day then?
Oh, well, yeah. Sometimes like 4 or 5.
That's why you're so flexible. I've done some yoga. We developed a paddleboard yoga thing.
Oh, I love sup yoga.
It was mostly Alexander Dobbs, the guy I had on the podcast like a week ago, but I don't know. I really enjoy it. I never thought in a million years it would be as much exertion as it actually is. I always thought of yoga before I did it as just stretching. Oh, yeah, just go do some stretching. But actually, I mean, you're sweating bullets by the time you're done with it if you're really doing it right. And some of those poses are very hard, especially when they're done on a paddleboard.
Yeah.
I used to fall almost every time I tried to do the warrior 1 position or something like that.
Yeah, so you got your warrior 1, warrior 2. Warrior 3 would be tough on a paddleboard. Today I did dancing Shiva. That's a fun one to do on a paddleboard. That's where you
really?
just float 1 foot up and dance.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you do the headstand one?
Yes, I can.
What's that one called?
Shirshasana.
Shirshasana? Laugh at me. It's my podcast. No.
Sanskrit.
Oh,
Headstand.
okay. What do you love about the yoga? What drew you to that?
Oh, it feels so good. I was really looking for something in my life at the time. Well, let's see. And it's in moments. Sometimes it's in the hardest times of your life when you find something good and it just feels like such a breath of fresh air, which you're constantly breathing in yoga. Uh, um, that reminds me of the tea bag charm that I'm drinking right now. I got this. I'm drinking my favorite tea, and I got a brand new charm that usually they repeat the charms, and this one has to do with breath. I wish I could read it, but the fire, I can't really read it.
Yeah, the fire
Can
sort
I,
of.
here, wait, it's worth it.
Yeah, check it out. Now, when you say a tea charm, is that like a little, almost like a fortune cookie, but it's on the end of your tea bag line?
But better.
But
Okay.
better.
This one, I still can't read it.
Get that light out. There you go. For our audience, she's looking at her tea bag.
So for the first time, I received this wisdom today. Your breath fills you with energy anywhere and anytime you need it.
Oh, well, I'd say that's true for sure.
Yes, it's just the breath. Yoga is so much about the breath, and living is so much about the breath. And I've found in my experience that if you're experiencing challenges and you return to the breath and be present to, even if it's difficult, even if it's uncomfortable, you'll get through it. It will transform. And that's one way to say yes to life and not resist it, but embrace the here and now. And that's what life's about.
Well, and I think also you're hitting on something that I definitely believe, and that's that, life's not supposed to be the same thing over and over and over again every single day. And one of the, I think, core reasons that people experiment and find new things and try stuff and succeed and fail and do all these things and have these experiences usually does stem from some sort of bad situation, some sort of struggle. Because if life is all good and it's all happy, then you're basically just going to be sort of laying around and keeping the flow going, which I guess is fine. But in the end, yeah, I mean, when things are really tough and it seems like nothing's going right, that's when, as people, we sort of switch it up a little, try something new, and then all of a sudden you discover not only things about yourself, but you discover all these new passions and things that you didn't know about that all of a sudden become these really important things like yoga and like anything, and they can be so life-changing, but it's that
The contrast.
It's the what?
The contrast.
The contrast. Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. And that's reminding me of a passage from the prophet where the passage on joy and sorrow, and it talks about the sorrow carving out the lute for then the space to reverberate the joyous song. And it talks about a wine glass being forged in heat, and then therefore it holds the joyous wine. But yes, it carves us out so that we're able to reverberate with beauty and awe and wonder and joy and lightness, and yet they come hand in hand.
Sorrow and joy.
Well, it's just the whole depth of experience of being human. The heartbreak. The heart breaks, and that's also the depth of compassion.
I believe that 100%. I mean,
it reveals the depth of compassion. Yeah,
I think so. I got the gears spinning in your head right now.
Yeah, yes. And yet, on this path of awareness, I'm practicing through practices of meditation and yoga. You connect to the one who is aware, the one who notices all that's right here, right now, all that you can sense and feel. And through these practices, ideally, we can become lighter. Yes, like high vibration. That's what I'm going for. That's how I want to live.
Yeah, right. Live in the moment.
Uh-huh.
Be aware of everything that's going on, in tune with it all. I don't know. It's
Aware of the awareness and embracing of the moment, no matter what it is.
well, and if it's not a great moment, it doesn't mean you should run away from it. It's more of you got to embrace that, because that's probably going to be part of the key that takes
Oh,
you and sends you all
yes.
to these other places.
Well, yeah, you just brought up another great concept, which is the obstacle is the path, or the challenge is the teacher, and everything in your life is like divinely there for your evolution of consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's so strange that it seems like our sort of society these days tries to protect you from any sort of suffering, any sort of hurt, any sort of, that sort of thing. And in reality, I think those are things, when they're done in moderation, are really an essential part of every life. I'm a big believer that, and I think we talked about this the other day, where if you want to really feel excessive amounts of joy, you are probably going to have to go through some suffering beforehand, because I do truly believe that when you go through, and I can only equate this to sailing, I guess, but if I go out sailing on a nice day, it's wonderful. I love it. It's great. If I go out sailing and get caught in a 3-day storm and go through hell and back, and it's terrifying, it's uncomfortable, it's miserable, and then I get into perfect conditions after that,
Yeah.
I am elated. I mean, I am the happiest guy, and it's because I went through that bad storm that all of a sudden now I've made this reality of this nice day, which once would have been wonderful, and now is absolutely the greatest day I've ever had, sort of thing. And I don't know. It's such an essential thing. And I'm sure it's got to be. Is it part of like Buddhism or something? I'm just totally sounding like a moron here, but
Go right ahead.
I'm pretty sure that's like a staple in some Eastern religion,
Yeah.
where suffering is like actually a good thing, because it really does make you realize just how good you have it when the suffering is over.
Yeah, it was the Buddha. One of the four noble truths is life is suffering.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So to not try to avoid it,
Embrace it. Learn from it.
and be okay with it, even if that, and learn from it. Yeah.
Well, although
attached.
I can remember when I was younger, teenager in my 20s and stuff, and if I had a relationship end, girlfriend break up, all that sort of stuff, there were a few times where I was like absolutely, totally devastated. Couldn't get me out of a depression, it was just awful. And
Yeah, I experienced that too.
it's one of those things. And you, at the time, I didn't want to do anything. People would be trying to cut me to come out, just sit and talk, do anything. And all I'm thinking to myself is, I don't want to deal with anything. I just want to be miserable and da 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 da. And I was sort of taking it the wrong way. And obviously, you're always going to feel bad. But I don't know. I think that if you look at it from that perspective, you can sort of, I don't know. I'm kind of losing myself on this one.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Yeah. Some practices that I try to take on when intense feelings like that happen, are practices of letting go, of surrendering. And so, of allowing however you feel to be without trying to change it.
Yeah, exactly. Not trying to disguise it, or
or
cover it up
shove it
with
down.
alcohol
Yeah, but
or
to hear it
yeah.
so that it can be released, because there's energy underneath the feelings that we experience, and to let it go to practice letting go, always coming back to that can help.
Well, and have you found that since you started practicing meditation, that helps you control your feelings and all that a whole lot better?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it is a practice of meditation. And so I am always practicing it. And I have found that it has transformed my life.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah. I mean, just having a bit more. Do you feel like it gives you a bit more control?
Yeah. When things happen, I notice when, here's a big one that's really helpful in my life is like to notice when narratives spin out. Our imaginations really can run wild. So our thinking mind, can make stories spin these alternate realities that aren't even happening, and we can suffer over them, these narratives that we create, and we cause ourselves so much unneeded suffering believing these stories. And so to connect to the awareness and to notice, oh, there I go again, there my small I, the ego goes again, um, having that tendency to combine that sense of insecurity or doubt or being tired with this fear. There it goes again, thinking that friend. I'll give an example. Let's say I go to send a text message to somebody, and I don't hear back from them, and I start to worry. Oh no, the last time I saw that person, maybe they didn't like what I said. Maybe they're upset with me. And this or that. And come to find out that the text message never sent.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then I find that moment. It's still, it might happen. And then I just laugh at myself, and I laugh at the ego, the personality, the small I self. And I kind of just like imagine, like, sometimes I just like cradle it. I'm like, oh, ego, it's okay. It's okay to feel these ways. We're human. It's so wild being human. These intense feelings and happen.
We're complex
Flow
creatures.
through.
No, we really are.
Reality is complex. There are so many layers of in every dimension occurring, and it's fun to notice them. That's also why I like the mindfulness journey.
Well, can I ask you, like, with as far as the meditation goes, what would be your normal daily routine with it? Oh man, those are raindrops.
Ooh.
All right, and we are back a couple days later. So just to recap, we were out doing this podcast at night out here at Jeromestown, and in Michigan the weather changes really fast, and it changed on us and started to rain. So we had to postpone for a little while, and it ended up taking a bit. But we have Adrienne back, and we're going to wrap this thing up talking about a few extra things. And I think you wanted to first talk about meditation mantras, maybe? Something like that?
Ooh. Yeah, because I love it so much, and maybe other people would love it as well. I learned this at a yoga ashram in Guatemala. We would meditate for a whole hour, but I love to do just 10 minutes. And as people start their own practice, I'd recommend keeping it even shorter.
Is that every day?
Yeah, every morning.
Every
I love
morning.
the mornings.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll set the space and set a timer for 10 minutes. But if you're new to it, maybe just start with 6 minutes or 4. Leave yourself wanting more.
Oh, nice. Smart.
Yeah, and let it be a place where you're wholly welcome. You're fully welcome. All of the aspects of yourself, and it's you come to a happy place. You're happy, which is fundamentally within the place of peace and love. And then the metaphor that I come back to in this meditation is that of clouds in the sky, and our consciousness being vast and limitless as the sky, and our thoughts and sensations and emotions being like clouds that are passing through the universe and that are transforming. And so to notice them, we don't need to stop necessarily the thoughts. The thinking mind will run, but to recognize that you are not your thoughts. We're here to find that dimension within ourselves that is deeper than thought. And so to notice the clouds as they transform, the thoughts and emotions, and in so doing, you connect to the one who notices, the witness who is the soul. And so I breathe and simply be and notice whatever comes up. And I love that meditation. And I find that it leads me to, it really transforms my day-to-day and my life.
Well, I would think, yeah. I mean, starting your day off with something like that, it's so easy. I know for me, when I wake up in the morning, my mind is already going 1,000 miles a second. All these things that are going to happen and decisions I have to make and all that sort of stuff. And I don't know. I feel like maybe setting all that aside just for 10 minutes and what I'm picturing is basically, finding a nice quiet place where I'm comfortable. I can just go sit. There's no phones, there's nothing, and I know that nothing's going to come and get me as far as needing something or anything like that. And then I can just sit, and I think actually picturing like the clouds and stuff would probably help me a lot, because a lot of times I just don't have any sort of image in my brain except flashes of all this other stuff. And maybe, yeah, having that sort of image of, I don't know, maybe for me it'd be like floating through the clouds.
Nice.
I like that idea. I really do. And then,
Yeah.
just focusing on the breathing. But yeah, only do it for like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
'Cause that's pretty easy. Anybody can grab that little bit of time.
Yeah, there's so many visualizations that can be really beautiful. So if something works for you, then use it. And if it doesn't, let it go. And at the end of the day, you have to let anything go, anyways. Some other visualizations that I've loved are kind of like rainbow waves emanating love energy. So it's nice to meditate to in the morning to connect to that primary purpose, to connect to the soul. You've got your day to day and everything that you need to do, and your psyche is like scrambling and getting all the to-do lists in line. And that's okay if the psyche does that. But just to know that there's a deeper purpose and meaning is really nice to connect to.
Well, because, yeah, I think a lot of times all those millions of thoughts just lead to anxiety and worry, or all these different sort of, I guess I would consider unhealthy feelings.
Oh yeah.
And then if you can sort of break away from that just at the start of the day, because I mean, really, in the end, it's about enjoying the little bit of time that we have, and if you can do it in a little bit calmer state, and be a little more focused on what's going on right then and there and how you feel and all that. I'm going to try it. Definitely going to try it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, beautiful. So humans so often cause ourselves a lot of suffering just by adding layers of thought on top of that simple moment right here, right now. Like all of our thoughts about and concepts and ideas about what's happening. And sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it, and we get so ensnared in it all. And so it
all bound up and wrapped up all tight, like, I feel like I'm going to explode. I know I feel like that sometimes.
Yeah, it's the best time to breathe, return to the moment, and be.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because step 1, find a place. Step 2, make sure it's quiet. Step 3, focus on your breathing. Do it for 10 minutes. Step 4, picture clouds. I really like the cloud thing, because I think anybody can could come up with that image just from, any movie where they're flying through the clouds or whatever. You can sort of imagine that.
Yeah, and I like to imagine myself laying in a field observing the clouds, which most people have done.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah, but if you're flying, all the better.
Oh, yeah.
Limitless consciousness.
Ripping through the clouds of the doldrums. That's what I'll picture.
Ooh.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap this up, and then you play the live song, the first live song ever on this podcast? I'm so honored, by the way, because it's the intro song, and it's about Mighty Sparrow and me sailing and all that. And
It seems really, really right that I'm here able to play it in Jeromestown.
yeah, I know. It's destiny.
No, let's get it started.
All right, sounds good. We're gonna set it all up, and then do you wanna introduce the song and everything?
Oh, yeah, sure. So it's called Notes from the Sea, and it's on my latest album called Deep Teal. And I wrote it because I was getting some special messages out from you while you were at sea. Just beautiful nature updates of what you're seeing and how you're feeling, and I too was on my own path, but it was on land, and so there's a back and forth of messages, and in the song it's a duet, and it goes back and forth. But I guess maybe I'll sing both parts, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, because you don't want me trying to sing it. I will.
I do want you trying to sing it.
Absolutely ruin it, and we're not going to do that. Well, thank you so much, Adrienne, for coming on the podcast, and yeah, hopefully we get to do this again.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
You're on your old trusty boat you call Mighty Sparrow. I'm in the city of Mardi Gras. The sunset paints first for you. You send me notes from the sea. It makes me glad to know you're living well. Oh, babe's gray sun, rise today. A small bird, join me on my way. When I see fishing boats, I wonder what that life is like. So sweet to hear from you, wholly beholding the view. In sun and grass I'm living a shepherd's dream. It's not so cold, but I'm beating in to the wind. I'm at its whim. I'm getting tossed relentlessly. Hold on, sailor, or my tears would fill the sea. See the moon transform, so will the storm. The moon's my best friend out here. Today is light and crisp and clear. I got some sleep and did some sorting. Mother Nature, hold him sweetly, rock him deeply. Mother Nature, hold him sweetly, rock him deeply. Love La la la